Sustainability is easy to talk about, but hard to accomplish. And we want to get it done. It's the putting together of like-minded folks that are committed to this. We have this responsibility. We take it to heart. It's a real lifestyle and responsibility that we believe in. More people, including the county and the state and anybody else, we need to pull together. We can't do it on our own. We need everybody's support. We need everybody to buy in that we can do it here in Hawaii. We can be sustainable.
Welcome to What Would Our Kupuna Do? This is Richard Ha's blog, which looks at what we can do today to make Hawaii Island a more sustainable place to live, so our children and grandchildren and their grandchildren won't be priced out of here, and will be able to stay in Hawaii and live good lives here. Today we have a guest with us, Troy Keolanui, who is operations manager at O.K. Farms, which is on the banks of the Wailuku River overlooking Rainbow Falls. And Troy kindly gave Richard and I a great tour of the farm the other day, O.K. Farms, and it was amazing to see the land and what you're doing there.
Oh, it just blew me away. You know, the size of the operation, the different things going on there, and more than anything, talking to Troy about his philosophy and how he looks at things. It made me feel so happy.
First, Troy, give us a big picture of O.K. Farms. What's that all about and what are you guys doing there?
Well, O.K. Farms was founded in 2002 with the help primarily of Mr. Edmund C. Olson and the Olson Trust. And Ed is a guy that had the means to secure the land when Seabrewer was liquidating their assets here on the Big Island. And he was able to buy a sizable amount of property in Hilo and also in Ka'u. And he's a guy that's committed like we are to preserving the land, committed to building up agriculture. That's a hard entity to find nowadays. So we're lucky.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting what OK stands for.
It's Olson and Keolanui, his last name and mine. Of course, he's the landowner and we're the people managing the land and existing on the land and creating on the land and building it up to be better than what it was when we came onto the land. And that's our goal.
Right. You're the ones making it happen. One of the things I really noticed and was impressed by the other day when we were all talking is how similar you two, Richard and Troy, are in terms of your philosophies about the importance of farming now and into the future.
What I find so not refreshing, but it makes me so happy to hear somebody talk about the future generations, what we can do without, some money-making scheme in the background. When I hear him talking, I know where he's coming from, put it that way. It doesn't take very long to figure out who's who,
Yeah, that's great.
Just to say that, Richard is he's a huge mentor to me and a lot of people in this industry. He's been a leader. He's been very unique in his approaches. And we've followed a lot of those at O.K. Farms and at the Olson Trust. Things like green energy, thinking outside the box. We feel that, in Hawaii, we call it kuleana. It's our responsibility. Because we can, we feel that we should. We feel like we have an opportunity, a window of opportunity, and that window of opportunity is not going to stay open forever. It could close on us. So, when like Richard talks about, there's not really a push to make a lot of money, but we got to break even. We got to get to the break even point, have a sustainable program, a sustainable company that can maintain the land and continue to improve the land and be willing to be open-minded and trying to figure out at all times what's next for this land. Because in Hawaii, we've seen huge agricultural businesses come and go. Those things are still happening. The macadamia nut industry that we are deeply involved in is facing extreme challenges, even the coffee industry, all of those things. So we got to think outside the box all the time. And I think that's where Richard has really enlightened a lot of us to make us think about things that we haven't before. And I think that's very important.
Yeah. What did you mean when you said that the window could close at any time?
Well, we have to, sustainable is a big word in agriculture in Hawaii nowadays. And sustainability to me has to do with creating a program that works, that is financially viable. And that's really the key. We can't go forward and just lean on the Olson Trust or expect to find grant monies or help from the government. We have to make this work. We have to find solutions that are realistic. We have to plant and cultivate things that people are going to want to support. If if that doesn't happen, then I think the timeline is not that long, maybe 10 years, maybe 15, that, this land goes out of ag and becomes homes or other things. That it would be a sad day for us if that happens. So we are in it, committed 100%, and we look to like-minded entities and other people to join us, and figuring this out, because we don't have all the answers.
How big is the farm? That would be sad if that all turned into homes.
OK Farms is roughly 350 acres right here in Hilo, and we mostly grow tropical fruit. We're very diverse, though. We grow citrus and coffee and palm heart and spices, and we're always trying new things. And a lot of our operation is based on agrotourism and the visitor industry, not just outsiders coming in off the cruise ships and otherwise, but also local people from the community and educational groups and kupuna groups.
You also mentioned that you have weddings there. Beautiful, beautiful location.
Yeah, we've probably had a dozen weddings up at the property. It really is a nice, private, beautiful spot. And those things, again, aren't our primary focus, but anything that you can do to help you achieve the ultimate goal, we're okay with that. It's been positive to have weddings and other parties, graduation parties, even funerals we've had up at the property. Community involvement, I think that's the key.
I gotta say that Leslie and I was the first time we got a chance to go on your side of Wailuku River, looking at Rainbow Falls. And to start off with, understanding that you folks did it in such a way that it didn't stand out from the people that are on the other side looking at Rainbow Falls. They don't even know that you folks are on the other side looking back at them, because the colors blend in, the everything blends in, and yet you can see from a different point of view. It's spectacular. The other one that was really impressive was the joining of those two rivers that overlook. It's just spectacular. If you see it for the first time, it impresses you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you're referring to Kaimu Kanaka Falls. Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
that's where the Waiau and the Wailuku meet. It's a very very high mana kind of spot, one of those chicken skin kind of spots. And I was glad to take you guys there. That was very cool.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I agree with what you're saying, Richard. I was just blown away by the beauty, and also that thing about looking down at the top of Rainbow Falls. We're all used to looking at Rainbow Falls up from the little official county overlook, but standing in a place where you cannot be seen from that overlook because you're kind of hidden in the trees, but having a perfect view of the top of Rainbow Falls, unbelievable. I loved seeing that. Thank you again.
We're lucky, we're blessed, and we understand that, and that's where the kuleana comes in. I mean, it's really is our responsibility to take care of this place, to build it up, to conserve it, and to pass it on and make it better. And it's not ours. We understand that. It's everyone's, and we want everyone to enjoy it and to really take ownership of this land. We adopt an ideology of having an open gate system. It's always open. We have a soccer field here that's been solicited by the community for 20 years now, for 2 decades. It's become the home field for Hilo High School, and it was used by the University of Hawaii for many, many years. And that's kind of our approach. Is we need the community's input, we need the community's support, and we're always welcoming to everyone that wants to take that stance.
And also tell us a little bit about your boxes.
The consumer supported agricultural boxes, the CSA boxes that we do, was really a response to COVID, when folks really didn't want to go out. And on top of that, a lot of the farms here on the Big Island were suddenly shut down, where most of the sales went to the hotels and the restaurants. That overnight was just a big wake-up call that, wow, this can really happen to us. And so we started the CSA box. We joined what's called the Hawaii Food Hub Hui. It's a hui of 14 different food aggregation businesses, and we all work together to support each other. So here at OK Farms, we travel around and we get produce from 12, 15, sometimes 20 different farms, and we put it in the box. And for a reasonable price of $30, we put that box out to whoever wants it. And you can go on the website at okfarmshawaii.com and you can sign up for that box. You can kind of mix and match the items that you want. And even after COVID, where we were doing upwards of 300 boxes a week, we still are keeping it going because we're still pushing around 80 boxes a week out. So it's been very viable. It's a different way of looking at food distribution. It kind of takes out the middleman and gets fresh produce from the farms directly to the end user. So it's been very positive for us. It's been good for the people that are soliciting the box and creating this relationship with the farm.
When I first went up there several weeks ago, he pointed out this automatic system that makes the processing much, much easier. So just the idea of doing that kind of stuff helps in making the cost more under control. And then you can do more volume that way. That's the same kind of thing we're thinking of. Like, for example, we're looking at a food safety system that's based on ozonated water, and it's USDA approved. And instead of using irradiation for papayas, let's say, they won't take it in Japan because they don't want the irradiation. But, in this system, the oxygen molecule is O3. And it's unstable. One oxygen wants to run away and attach to something, attach to the bad stuff and neutralizes it. And then all you got left is water. If we could somehow figure out how to get it done so more people could do this, then if you had a food safety situation where you want to sell to the big box stores on the island or in the state, on the island primarily, they could send their truckers to your location. And it'll take a lot of ideas of how you put this together. Yeah. And we were also looking at different ways of utilizing production methods that's like indoor agriculture kind of. And what comes to my mind is the Bernie Krotke method of hydroponics or growing food. Now, that's not in the soil, but it's also looking into the future, how you transition and where does it fit. So all these pieces are moving around and we're trying to figure out how to put them all together for all of us to sit down and kind of brainstorm, because everybody has ideas, yeah? And then we just got to kind of figure out what we can use, what would work toward the end result, which is like what Troy mentioned, it's future generations, keeping it alive. If one goes down, what's the next, that kind of thing.
Right. It's great you both are discussing this and are both so tuned into the importance of collaboration, because I see that a lot with what you were talking to us about, Troy. You work with a lot of different people. You're not trying to do it all on your own. Richard, you've got this idea of putting together a food production facility, again, where you're working with a lot of different farmers. And that's terrific. It's something you guys really seem to have in common.
Richard says, people's ideas and good ideas. And Richard is definitely one of those guys that has more ideas than most.
How can people help? How can people buy in?
Well, the very simple thing they can do is support the food hubs. Use the food hubs, because the food hubs are, again, they're taking produce directly from the farms and getting that straight to the end user. And I think that's the easiest way to join in right away. Certainly, we said earlier, our farm is always open and we're constantly inviting the community in. Our Ulu Agroforestry block, we do a monthly, last Saturday of the month, community work day. That's been really wonderful experience for not only us, but for everybody that comes inside and kokuas the work and takes home some of the harvest. Basically, we go in and we do whatever's necessary, kind of like we do on the farm. We try to keep it interesting, we don't just pull weeds every month. And we try to do as much harvesting as possible so that we can send folks home with some of that harvest. And we try to make it educational. And again, it's not just us, it's the people coming in. They have their mana'o too that they share with the group. It's really powerful. We just had the 2-year anniversary, and we had 50 people out there, and it was really profound. We had some Hawaiian music and just a lot of talking, and again, it's a lot of like-minded folks that really like each other's company. And we get together and we put in about 3 hours of work. Then we have some cow and talk story and send people home with some of that harvest.
Oh, that's great. That sounds like a really neat experience for people, kind of back to the land, old style a little bit.
The Ulu Agroforestry 5 acres that we planted 2 years ago was a joint effort between us and the Hawaii Ulu Co-op. And I'm also a board member for the Hawaii Ulu Co-op. And I think that their model is really a positive one. They're really taking these crops like ulu, potatoes, pumpkins, and processing them, making them available large scale supermarkets as ulu flour. And people need to realize that we're in a society of convenience where we can get almost anything under the sun at the supermarket. But if we really want to support local and sustainable ideas, then you got to kind of switch your thinking and your diet habits over to the things that we really can grow, because COVID demonstrated to us that it can get shut down very quickly. We just really got to all be thinking in the same mindset.
I agree everything he said about the ulu. And what was impressive to me was what they're doing with the taro. Part of the conversation I asked him was, would you be willing to take some of the cultivars that they have at the extension service that they developed? And he was willing to, so I need to pass that on because they really need to open up some space so that they can do some other work.
This Ulu Agroforestry block, we have pivoted away from decades of cultivation methods, and this 5 acres is organic, diversified agroforestry block where plants are grown together, where they support each other. So we've used many agroforestry techniques, row cropping. We really try to fill every square foot of that 5 acres with something that's providing food. And the kalo, when we started planting kalo 2 years ago, it was just the best feeling, it was a long time coming and we should have done it sooner. We have 14 different varieties of kalo growing naturally and it's doing so well and it just reproduces so well and a small amount of area can feed so many people. It's just been fantastic.
And I keep coming back to, here we are sitting in the middle of the largest ocean in the world, depending on fossil fuel to get stuff to us and out of here. And yet we're not producing enough food for ourselves. We only produce, 10%, 15% of the food we eat. So we have to have a mindset change. In other words, if we can figure out a way where farmers can make money, because if the farmers make money, the farmer will farm. If we can figure out how we can find a way to farmers make money and then make it so that the young folks feel pride in being able to feed the people, which is the most honorable profession there should be. If we can get to that point, we can make huge impact. And where we are now is we're starting to kind of move down that road. And it's real encouraging to see that.
The Hawaiian people, over 1,000 years ago had an agricultural system in place that supported the same population that we have today. Almost 2 million Hawaiians. And it can be done. It can be reproduced. But it's going to take a lot for everybody to buy in. It can be done. That's for sure.
Yeah, what's interesting is they were doing that back in the day without the technology we had today. So some smart combination of their knowledge, which was vast, and what we can do even beyond that now.
I have high respect for how the Hawaiians used to think before.
What's the most important thing we need to do now to keep farming going in a positive direction?
If the farmer makes money, the farmer will farm. Because we can't do scale here, we have to have multiple income streams. So how can we make it simple, make it work, and in that way make it resilient?
The Olson Trust and O.K. Farms does have the ability to scale up. And we do have the ability to move the needle. And like I shared with you guys, we're looking at what are those things? And that's really one of the reasons that I joined the Hawaii Ulu Co-op board is because I want to see for myself. What if I planted 100 acres of ulu trees? What does that look like? Where's the ceiling? Who's going to join us and eating ulu on a weekly basis? Is it viable? We can't stick our necks out too far on the scaling up unless we're fairly confident that it's going to be a success. I showed you guys also the grasses that we're looking at for cattle and other animal use. There's a huge amount of funding being spent on animal feed, both at the dairy level and the private level. We think there's a huge niche there for us to look at. But again, it's one of those things that we're talking about it and committing to it and investing in it and figuring it out is hard. So we're on that path. How we can make it that more sustainable is something that's on the plate. But figuring out what to do with this land in the near term is crucial to us, keeping the land in ag. So it's really important to me personally as well.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add was we're looking at bamboo, but not in the regular way of taking bamboo and making it into bamboo houses. Rather, to take the bamboo and send it through machines and make replacement for lumber. And one thing I really like about bamboo is that all it needs is nitrogen. Most people don't even fertilize it. I know you folks are planting a bunch of different kinds here.
Yeah.
You guys are so interesting. So many wonderful ideas floating around here. I have hope for the future of agriculture on the Big Island.
I just want to thank Troy for what he's doing. It was so impressive. I cannot explain.
You're the sensei, Richard. Getting people, again, I have to keep saying the same thing, but like-minded folks together thinking in the same direction is a powerful force. We got to do it. We got to get together. We got to try these things. We're open to it. We have the ability to, at least at a small scale, test it out. And we'd love to do all of these things that we're talking about. We have the ability to do it. We're committed.
Absolutely.
Sounds great. Thank you, Troy, for joining us today. That was really interesting. And thanks
Great.
for watching. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of What Would Our Kupuna Do? Ahui ho.
Aloha.
Aloha.